Hello, my lovely audience. So this is What If Deku Was the Mandalorian Part 3. Yeah, Part 3. I think it's Part 3, or Part 4. Either way, it's Part something. Anyways, let's get into this. So, Deku is going to be... How do I put this? Oh, and if you hear my system in the background, it's because I just got off of it, so there's that. So yeah, basically what is going to happen is this. Deku is going to be, well, instead of taking that stupid oath of not removing his helmet, instead he gets one for all. And if I didn't give him one for all already, well, he gets it through that. Oh, shit, you already saw something. Oh, anyways, we'll see it either way later. So anyway, let's get into this. So yeah, Deku is going to be going to the training camp. And at the training camp, he is going to be a boss! And by a boss, I mean literally speaking, how do I put it? He basically brings his armor because it's his property, and they'd have to let him bring it because it's his fucking property. And what ends up happening next is this. Deku is immediately, well, he can't really bring his weapons, so the only thing he can bring is his gauntlet, which that's about it, which he is now, with his help of his mother, was able to tune it into... Well, actually, not the help of his mother yet. We'll talk about what happens later, because she's quite pissed at him right now for taking some stuff. And what ends up happening here is this. Or at least quite pissed at him for another reason, but you'll find out. So basically what happens here is this. Deku goes to the training camp, and Wapow Pussycats are told ahead of time that one student is bringing his hero suit, so if he arrives in it, just don't attack him, or you'll regret it. And immediately what ends up happening here is this. Deku is going to, well, how do I put it? He is going to put on his armor while everyone else is running into the forest, and immediately flies through the sky, carrying his rest of his stuff, and, well, bringing it, going to the camp and almost getting attacked by Tiger, and then being told to stop by Manly, who, honestly, Deku kind of pins Tiger down pretty easily by using his jetpack to kind of as a reaction to kind of like back up and then kick him in the face, and then pin him down to the ground with all of his force, and basically having his knee on his back. Anyways, what ends up happening next is this. What ends up happening next is Deku is going to, well, how do I put it? Well, he's going to be training, and his training is mostly a workout, an insane workout, and also combat training, where he learns very quickly how to use his jetpack in a full-on fist fight, and use it to propel himself into someone or basically around someone and kick their ass. And what ends up happening here is this. Deku's becoming more attuned with his armor and fighting style, so much so that he kicks Tiger's ass black and blue. And for what ends up happening next is, seeing how Deku has one for all, I'm going to say the percentage of what he can use now is around 25%. Why not, right? And for what ends up happening next is this. Deku is going to, well, he's going to, I'm not going to say 20%, I'm going to say 15%. Why not? Because he is still lightweight and muscular build, so there's that. And for what ends up happening here is this. Deku pretty much easily, quickly understands how to use One For All, because every time his mother would take him out for training, they would all, after fighting, they would meditate and test each other's, slowly kind of move and kind of tense up their body to kind of try and, like, I don't know, train themselves in some stupid way possible. You know what I mean. Anyways, it's all training in the end. And, well, let's put it this way. Once the training has been... Once they've gone through that weird-ass training, and Deku's kind of learned how to use One For All a bit, he then decides to, well, how do I put it? When the villains attack, he's basically sleeping in his armor. Well, he took a nap and he's basically sleeping in his armor and then gets woken up by Mandalorian, who asks him a big favor to go look for Coda. Oh, and by the way, the encounter with Coda punching Deku in the balls. Yeah, basically when he punched him in the balls, it didn't hurt Deku, it hurt him because he punched Mandalorian Steel, aka Beskar. Now, as for what ends up happening next, is this. Deku then goes ahead and, well, he flies out to find Coda and immediately finds him hiding behind a rock where Muscular is, well, basically near him. And Deku immediately shoots Muscular, taking him out very quickly, in the back of the neck with his gauntlet blaster, and immediately taking him out instantly. And Deku immediately flies down and grabs Coda, holds out his hand, and Coda immediately runs to him, hugs him tight, and kind of looks up to him, and, well, he asks him if he would want to either walk it or fly. And Coda would immediately say fly, while trying to put on like this cool kind of like calm impression, really. And immediately when he takes him out to, fly, and immediately flies up into the sky, Coda's kind of just enjoying the moment so much that he forgets that he's needing to hold on to Deku, and Deku holds him very tightly. And for what ends up happening next is simple. When Deku arrives towards, back at the camp, he immediately drops Coda off and then goes to find Bakugo, pulling out a tracking device that he has brought with him from his mom's. And, well, what ends up happening here is this. He finds Bakugo, and seeing that he's about to be captured, grabs him, and the villains are basically surrounding Deku at this point. Grabs him, puts a tracking device right in his underwear, right by his butt, and knocks him out, and then throws him away from him to block Dabi's basically heat, and takes the blunt of Dabi's fire, and completely is engulfed by it. And when Dabi lets up, you just see basically, green paint kind of being burned off, revealing a very nice polished Mandalorian steel. And Deku charges him and punches him in the face and grabs him and throws him towards the villains and flies away, grabbing Todoroki. And for what ends up happening here is this. The heroes do talk to Deku about trying to play the hero, but at the same time, trying to make sure he's okay. And he only got like a sunburn, really. That's about it. Yeah, that's how much it protected him. A sunburn. Anyways, so when Deku goes home, it's going to take about 2 weeks to find Bakugo. And in that time, they're basically torturing him and trying to have him join in many ways. And Deku, it's going to basically just take Deku a week to find Bakugo. Now, what ends up happening here is this. Deku is immediately told one thing by his mom. Fight me, or give up being a hero. Or give up being a Mandalorian. Give up all of it. And immediately, they suit up. It's a very serious fight, let's be honest. I'm going to say this right now. It's very much a serious fight. As an Inko is armoring up, Deku's armoring up, and they're getting ready for a fight. And I would say they take this out towards, into the forest. And what ends up happening here is this. For 3 days straight, they were fighting and surviving on the vegetation in the forest. And they were not ever sleeping so soundly, always with one eye open. And for what ends up happening here is this. Deku has, they've both been, using, guns to pretty much keep themselves, backed away from each other because they're both like ranged fighters. And I'm going to say that Inko gave her son one thing. When she actually caught up to him and he was basically out of ammo, she was out of ammo, she decided to settle this a little bit of the on the interesting side. As in, Inko pulls out a dark saber and immediately hands a vibro blade to Deku. It's basically like a short sword vibro blade, and throws it towards Deku, where he grabs it immediately and holds it and gets into a battle stance, into a good, knife holding stance. And immediately, what ends up happening here is this: Deku sees the broken sword shoot out a interesting type of blade that is black and having this kind of white hue kind of around it. And immediately hears this kind of weird sound that comes from it, almost hypnotic. And immediately Inko gets in her battle stance and charges at him with her jetpack. And Deku immediately jumps up and immediately, pretty much just flies over her and hits her in the back with the vibro blade, hitting her jetpack, having it malfunction, and basically starts sending her flying. And she grabs herself and immediately takes the jetpack and aims it towards Deku, where she then takes it off and has it sent flying into Deku, where he then dodges. And immediately she hits her son in the side, but Deku blocks with his gauntlet, preventing him from being cut into two. And immediately then tries to hit her in the chest, but is then blocked by her chest plate, but does scratch it deep. And actually, I would say it penetrates pretty deep before he pulls out and then immediately then blocks the attack of the Darksaber. And this whole time, Deku's on the defense, blocking and doing small counterattacks. And that's when Inko starts running out of energy. And Deku, he immediately then disarms her and grabs the Darksaber, holds it towards her throat, and immediately asks that she surrenders. And immediately after that is this. Inko says, "You have finally beaten me. It's yours. Everything I have is yours. Everything that our proud people once used is yours. The Darksaber is what leads the Mandalorians. Now, I know you very much care for Bakugo and also want to take down these villains once and for all. But no son of mine is going to get arrested and be marked as a vigilante." So she takes him out back home and gives him some armor that should fit him and also prove as a good disguise. This armor. And immediately, Deku's kind of shocked by how cool it looks, but also notices that it has a lot of stuff that would be more suited for surviving in extreme conditions. And he realizes that this suit is for surviving in very dire conditions. Underwater, in space, whatever. And it's very heavy compared to his armor. And when he goes out, he realizes that he is not going to be able to have his jetpack. And immediately is given a blaster. And is told that it is on a lethal setting. So make sure that you know what you're doing with this. And then she hands him a vibro blade. And what ends up happening next is this. Deku went out, going to find Bakugo, and immediately he finds him within a day, tracking him to the villain's bar. And immediately scans the entire villain's bar, and people giving him strange looks, and Deku's gauntlets not providing any type of utility. knowing he has some breaching charges, and finds where Bakugo is being held. Goes into the sewer system and finds somewhat of an... No, I wouldn't say it was the sewer system. I think it was like in the building, yeah. So basically, he finds where Bakugo is being held and immediately sets up some breaching charges to blow up the wall and come in through the wall. And what ends up happening here is this. He first sets one up on the door and immediately blows it up. And, well, what ends up happening here is this. People are immediately calling the heroes, and the villains are wondering what is going on. And that's when I would say that Deku set up multiple explosives, but are very small time compared to ones that he has right now. And he sets all of them off, creating a loud, thundering sound, masking the explosion that is the main one, blowing up into the where Bakugo is. Deku then grabs Bakugo and runs out after being seen by Toga, who Deku then proceeds to shoot in the leg, wounding her, and having her drop to the ground in pain. And Deku shooting several other shots, and Toga blocking with her little kitchen knife, really, to only see that it basically broke it off completely. And Deku shoots several more warning shots, but very close to where Toga is to make it look like he's actually trying to kill her. And immediately what ends up happening here is this. Deku then grabs Bakugo, ties him up to a pole, and sends an ominous tip to Aizawa where one of his students will be found. And the anonymous tip was this. Found one of your missing students. Have fun taking care of him. Sincerely, Well, seeing how he would know about the pre-Vizsla clan, he would probably go with the name Vizsla. And if you don't know how to spell Vizsla, V-I-Z-L-A. I might be wrong, but still, pronunciation's correct. And Deku immediately runs off, and, well, what ends up happening next is this. Deku is then, goes back home very quietly and takes off his armor. And immediately, well, he is then told to take an oath. And the art that you see right now, this art right here, is brought to you by, well, Dark. I'm just going to call you Dark from now on because it's a lot easier. It's the only part I can remember your name. I'm sorry, man. Dark Shadow. I'm sorry. Dark. I'm just calling you Dark. Yeah. Thanks for redoing this for me and, getting it done. Anyways, and making it look a whole lot better too. Anyways, he gets this brand that takes about an hour to get done on his best scar. On his shoulder plate. And actually, no, I'm going to say it's on his chest plate. And for what ends up happening here is this. He has now got to take an oath of his own. Because now he's a part of a new clan. A clan of many. And what he takes an oath of is this. When he is ever on duty as a hero, he shall not take his armor off, and he shall protect the innocent with his armor. And he shall protect those he cares about wearing his armor, wielding his newfound weapon, really, I would say, his newfound what would you call it? Newfound extension of himself, I guess. You know what I mean. Either way, he basically swears that he will protect the innocent when he wears this armor and do only good, never any bad. And for what ends up happening here is this. He also, let's see here. But yet he swears that he will protect and serve only as a hero wearing this armor. And what ends up happening next is this. Deku goes to school wearing this armor and also gets new weapons. As in, he gets to wield a dark saber, and that's right next to his jetpack on his back. And I would say that he is immediately questioned about what that is, and he says that is something that his mom gave to him. And for what else he has, his gauntlets now are given flamethrowers and the cable, as well as a I would say it is the shield to protect against flames, because he did take a bit of damage, and also have a laser cutter to cut through any obstacles in his path very silently and quietly. And for what ends up happening next is this. There were reports of someone wearing the armor like Deku's, the kind of look. And Deku would immediately be questioned about this, as well as his mother, when they are setting up the, dorms. And that she explains that her family is very large. And Deku they only have this type of armor through many generations. And resmelting it and so on. Oh, and the armor that is, he wore has been melted down again. Has been melted down and used to make some new stuff for him for later on. And for what ends up happening next is simple. Deku, he gets back to his, he gets into the dorms, and, well, his dorm room is very interesting, as in it has a workbench to work on his gear and basically run diagnostics and stuff like that. And he's got a bed that looks very comfortable. And very well slept in. As for what he has as workout gear, he's got a lot of stuff for working out. I mean, a lot of stuff. Now, as for the other stuff, like, let's see here. His dark saber. Oh, by the way, yes, I know. Someone's probably saying that I thought you were not going to do a dark saber, but yeah, I'm doing a dark saber. Anyways, yeah. Now, as for what is going to happen here is this. I would say that Aizawa would be curious about his crest that he is wearing when he's seeing the armor in his room, and basically asks about it and says that it's how his family, how they kind of form clans around it, and kind of how they form, their own standing and social status and all that stuff. Basically their own new sort of family. And as I would be very curious about this, because they did see a crest on this Mando on this person that was wearing the armor, and it was more of a weird bird thing, looked like a pterodactyl to some witnesses. And looking at Deku's signet, he kind of finds it very familiar, that he's seen the circle of it somewhere before. And he's wondering where he's seen it before. And for what ends up happening next is very simple. Deku's, all the ladies are basically crowding his room and always finding it very amazing and very kind of hot how he has such a very interesting, really, in their words, hot body. And also, they're basically, a lot of them are, I guess you could say, very much obviously have a crush on him. And So yeah, that's all. Have a good day and good night. Peace out.